Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you very much for joining me here today. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a quick look here at Bitcoin just before we peek over at Loopring and making sure we obviously understand a bit on what's going on either side, right? So Bitcoin's been a bit on the bullish side here today. It's kind of a nice change of pace, right? We had a nice dip to about 53,500, got a nice little fill there, and then the price has just been ramping up ever since. So hopefully you dollar cost averaged down closer to 54,000 like I recommended, because it does look like the price is back on track. Now, granted, we haven't made higher highs yet. This is still effectively a potential dead cat based on the simple fact that we've had two of them in a row, right? So we're not out of the woods yet, but it's looking a lot better than it should, considering how low it went and where we're at this point, right? So all's well. We do need to make sure that we break 61,000 to officially be considered bullish, but at this point it does feel like that's going to happen perhaps very soon, just based on this push. Obviously it needs to slow down a little bit, but it's ramping up very hard, very quick, and we like to see that for a change because all these red days have been kind of just annoying, to say the least. So all is well there for Bitcoin at this point in time. Continue to dollar cost average, that'd be my recommendation, specifically more so with Ethereum, based on the fact that it's still very affordable considering where it could and should be eventually, right? So bear that in mind. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at Loopring. And just before we do, I want you to know I'm not a financial advisor. I just love teaching people how to become better traders. I've been trading for over 15 years and I love trading, and it's just something I do every single day for work. This is my life and I love it, and I get to enjoy this with my patrons too. So consider joining my group December 1st. We'll have open enrollment next month. We have to open up more slots and make sure we have that available for you, but for right now there's no we kind of reached our maximum occupancy for this month. That being said, check that out when you get a chance. I do send out signals for every single trade that I take, but more importantly, we all learn and grow together, and it's an amazing experience. All right, so take a look here at Loopring. First thing to note, moving averages are trailing behind, not a big deal. We're right in between 50 and 70 on the RSI, fantastic. We'd like to see that. Over 50 on the RSI on the one day is extremely beneficial. We like to see that as an option. Also bear in mind it does show we have potential bearish divergence on the MACD. I'm not really a huge fan of the MACD on the one day chart though, so honestly, it's not really super important. Obviously, we know that we had a couple of red days recently, but it's creeping back up, right? Loopring is back on track. It looks like we are doing well for the last 3 trading days. Some decently large candlesticks or candle wicks, but not a problem. Looking at the 4-hour chart, this is probably the most effective moving average and RSI MACD usage, right? So looking at the moving averages, we're just peaked up over the 50-day simple moving average. That is fantastic. That is extremely beneficial in the big picture, because that basically tells us in the last 50 trading days, essentially, or 50 candlesticks, essentially, we have bullish momentum, and the price should be $2.92 when the price is actually upwards of $3. Great stuff. Moving forward, also, we have a potential, no, never mind, scratch that. We actually have a very awesome situation here. We're back up over 50 on the RSI, and that's an extremely good sign here for the actual relative strength index, right? We need to make sure that we're above 50 when we take entry. For the most part, that's the best consideration. I know you're like, well, why don't we buy the dip? Well, we never truly know when the dip is, right? Why not join in the momentum when it's happening instead of possibly trying to buy the bottom, right? You can never truly find the bottom. You're better off finding the entry point that is moving with the bulls versus, who knows, right? That's my mindset. That's kind of how I do it. I'd much rather sure shot and trade more effectively than trade uphill, if that makes any sense. All right. Look at this here. Oops, here we go. Look at this. This is great news. We got a MACD convergence on the 4-hour chart. It's pretty much hitting its inception right now. Now, bear in mind, that could be a lot to do with Bitcoin ramping up right now. Obviously, that has a lot to do with that. I'm sure a lot of coins are going to MACD converge right now. But do they have the same history as Loopring? Not quite. They're not quite as meta as Loopring is right now, and that's fantastic. So ultimately, that's a great sign. If we're up over the Ishimoku cloud, this might be a good consideration. Almost there. Okay. Here's something we want to know. So first of all, we got the lagging span that's up over all the price action. Step number 1, good to go. Step number 2 is to ensure this blue line here, which is the conversion line, is up over, you see, conversion line, this blue line here. We need to make sure that that is up and over the baseline, because the baseline is that lower, slower moving average. That being said, it's not. It's kind of intersecting with it, so to speak. So until that is above, we don't have that official buy signal, but we have a MACD convergence, right? MACD convergence typically leads to an Ichimoku cloud breakthrough. So we want to pay attention to this and see when the price breaks through. So ultimately, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my alert for 315 and just make sure that we take another look at this when the price potentially breaks through the cloud right then and there. If it does, that might be a consideration to take entry. And what we're hoping for is for the conversion line to be above the baseline, and that would be the trifecta, right? But in my experience, when you have a MACD convergence in the 4-hour chart, the Ishimoku cloud will break through roughly within 4 to 8 hours later. I might be sleeping by that time, so if you guys catch that, feel free to check that out and make sure you understand. I know some of my folks over on the other side of the world, you might be starting your day right now, and if so, you have the chance to possibly jump into Loopring. So set your alert for 3:15. If it breaks above the cloud on the 1-hour chart, that would ultimately be a good consideration of a buy signal. Just keep in mind it's not overextended at that point, right? Because right now on TD sequential we're at a 6. So if it does continue to progress upwards, we might see that state of exhaustion right at the exact same time it breaks through the cloud, and we could expect some consolidation or even retracement, because the cloud does have a tendency of working as a resistance level, so it has been known to come up here and to get rejected out and come back down. All right, so just keep that in mind. That is just something to be aware of. But definitely looking good here. Loopring has a lot of great qualities, and I'm going to make sure to set my alarm in the morning, get up nice and early, see if I can take a look at Loopring again, see if it's working well. Or maybe I get that alert in the middle of the night and I wake up and I set my signal. Never know. All right, either way, good stuff here. Just letting you know we got most of the things that we want to see happening and that we're progressing positively towards that. So let's look at best case scenario here, big picture. Just say hypothetically we were to get that official MACD convergence to just keep slamming home, and obviously the Ishimoku cloud breakthrough. We do have potential again. This is just say what the price will break through at 6:15. There could be an upwards about 25% increase up to $3.93 if you were to effectively get all the way to the all-time high range. It's really, really close. I mean, I think it's plus or minus a couple cents here, but generally just say 393 is effectively the highest point in which it could go to break that resistance. Now get this and keep this in mind. The 1-day candlestick, we can see we got a strong resistance at about 342. So I'm going to mark that just so we know, because if you're not familiar with this, the 1-day candlestick close is equally as important as the all-time highs. So that being said, this creates this kind of channel, so to speak, in this range that'll essentially work as a potential resistance. Okay, so I'm confident that you'll probably be able to get this nice easy percent between the current, just say the Ishimoku cloud breakthrough, or even just say you're adding to your position right now, nice cool 10% up to the resistance level of 341. The price may even continue past that, but just bear in mind if the 1-day candlestick cannot close over 341, that's not considered breaking that resistance plane. Okay, it can travel all at once, but if you've seen in the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, am I counting that correctly? 7 different attempts to break that resistance plane, it still hasn't done it yet. Okay, so we got to respect that, but keep this in mind too. The more often you test a resistance level, the more likely it is to break. I think Loopring will break it this time. It's got that kind of momentum, because look at this, we got higher highs and higher lows. Things are just kind of picking up for Loopring. If we can get this higher high to be higher than this previous, we'll be in very, very good shape. So all in all, I see some really good stuff here. I'm probably just going to set a swing signal here to my community with 3 profit targets, stop loss, and actually no, may or may not include a stop loss based on the simple fact that it has proven to do very, very well. Even when Bitcoin sold off recently, look how low it went, 256. That's not terrible. That's not super far away from the price action right now. That might be about 13, 14%. So ultimately, we're looking very good here for Loopring to see an increase to the upside. And once more, best case scenario, we're looking at about 571 as a potential for Loopring. And what that potential would be is that would be about this is 10 trading days, right? So in 10 trading days, approximately, and technically it was less, it was more so 7 trading days, Loopring was able to increase 83%. If we want that same type of increase, it would put us in the range of $5 and $5.71. That would put us at a nice cool 50% increase from the previous high. But more importantly, that puts about 70% higher than where we're at presently. So this looks like a very, very realistic opportunity. So I'm going to set a swing trade to my community here in just a moment and kind of set that up. But just keep in mind when you set your profit targets just below Fibonacci retracement levels, and make sure that you take profit at those times. Don't be stubborn and just keep moving it higher. I had one of my patrons recently put their stop loss 2 cents higher than the recommended stop loss because it was just a little bit above Fibonacci retracement levels. It didn't get filled and it was a total bummer. So I can assure you, try not to get greedy with that. Set your limits just below their major resistance levels. So the first profit target would likely be somewhere in the range of 380, 390, right? Just below 393, if that makes any sense. All right, anyways, if you want more detailed specifics on those things, those are things that I essentially educate you on in my community. Check that out in your own time, of course. I'll have more open available slots December 1st, and that is essentially going to be the next kickoff for open enrollment. So check that out in your own time if you want. If not, that's cool too. Learn as much as you can from these videos. The whole point is to help you become better. I'm sorry if I went a little fast on certain things here, but you can't I can't sit here and explain everything. I just try to get you the bullet points, make sure you understand generally how they work. You can learn a lot more in my trading community though, that's for sure. Thanks again for your time. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.